Hey, this is a quick and dirty review of MonsterLabo The First. I saw Linus Tech Tips release their video about it. I've been an owner for a month or two, and so I wanted to give my thoughts on this very unique computer case since I've been using it for a while, and had an even more unique build than usual. I was intrigued about this case because I like the idea of silent computing a completely passively cooled computer. But disclaimer, this build does need to be actively cooled. So the first is a just large, tall case with a micro ITX motherboard and almost a graphics card, not room for much other accessories besides like a hard drive and the PSU. And the case is almost entirely consisting of these giant heatsink fins. Don't mind the RGB RAM, I couldn't turn it off. One thing to note, this case is very difficult to build in. For me, this took a total of about 30 hours assembling the whole thing. A bit on the high end, but still a lot of effort. A lot of the effort went into the GPU, which you can see right here. The problem being that there is no way to cool the VRMs, the hot voltage conversion bit, for a AMD GPU properly on the Vega series GPU. So I had to take its own metal mid-frame. I use a Dremel tool and trim out all the bits that wouldn't fit in here until it acted as just a heat sink. And that took about 5 of the 30 hours. The rest was trial and error getting everything to fit properly. I have a 2700X AMD processor, Asus B450i gaming motherboard. I had to remove the one of the two M.2 slots that also contain the audio chips, which means that the M.2 PCIe SSD actually has to split the 16 PCIe lanes with the graphics card. So the graphics card only has 8 lanes instead of 16. Shouldn't affect performance, but still could make a slight impact. The power button, as Linus Tech complained, is quite stuck, but MonsterLabo promised that they will be shipping out improved ones that won't have the issue. As far as cable management, there is none. I didn't receive pass-through parts yet because this is a very early case. So instead I have to put the case on its side and manually connect all the cables directly to the motherboard inside. I'm using a semi-passive PSU from Seasonic, and it almost never spins up the fan, and when it does, you can't hear it. I do have an included Noctua fan right here. I've set it so when the processor is below 50 Celsius, it doesn't run, and once the processor gets above that, it kicks in. So in standard computing, the computer is completely silent. And then once I fire up a game, say PUBG, then the fan will start spinning quietly. Occasionally, if I push it, when it gets hot enough, then it will spin up and become a bit audible. Since this is an all AMD build, a Vega 64 GPU and a Ryzen 2700X CPU, AMD is not known quite for good TDP, which means that you will have to put effort into undervolting. So for the processor, you'll have to enable precision boost overdrive and then set a voltage offset to try to temper down the voltage. And for the GPU, you have to set your own voltage curves with trial and error. But you can get the thermals pretty okay. But stock, it will run incredibly hot. And you'll be pinning at 90 Celsius, especially on the GPU. Overall, I wouldn't recommend this for most people, but if you have money to burn and want to do something fun and unique, this is definitely a way to do it.